Welcome back to Midnight Affair Tales. Thank you for joining us. The roar of the airplane engines filled Ethan Carter's ears, but his mind was somewhere else, home. After months in the desert heat, all he could think about was stepping off that plane and seeing his wife, Jessica, holding their newborn twins. The past year had been tough. Deployments always were. But Jessica had assured him, "I'll wait for you, Ethan. Always." And he believed her. The plane touched down, and as Ethan powered on his phone, it buzzed with an incoming text. "Jessica, we need to talk. It's important." Ethan frowned. His gut twisted. What could be so urgent? His fellow Marines clapped him on the back as they all exited the aircraft, but Ethan barely acknowledged them. He checked the time. Jessica should be at the arrivals gate, waiting with the babies. He quickened his pace, his heart pounding, but as he entered the terminal, she wasn't there. Instead, she stood near the exit, arms folded, shifting uncomfortably. She hadn't even brought the twins. Something was wrong. Ethan approached her, forcing a smile. "Hey, Jess." She barely met his eyes. "Hey." The air between them was thick. Ethan had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but this wasn't it. "Where are the babies?" he asked. Jessica swallowed hard. "We need to talk, Ethan." "Not here." His grip on his duffel tightened. "Talk about what?" She inhaled sharply. "It's about the twins." The world seemed to slow. Ethan's stomach dropped. "What about them?" Jessica's voice trembled. "They're not yours." Silence. The airport noise blurred into the background. Ethan couldn't move, couldn't think. Did she just say? He stared at her, expecting some cruel joke. But she wasn't laughing. "Say that again." His voice was low, controlled. Jessica exhaled shakily, tears brimming in her eyes. "Ethan, Say it again." Her lips trembled. "The twins, they're not yours." A lead weight crushed his chest. The world tilted. For months, he had held on to her letters, her pictures, his dreams of coming home to his wife and children. His children. Now it was all a lie. His jaw clenched. "Since when?" Jessica wiped at her tears. "It happened once." Ethan let out a sharp laugh. "Once? You had 9 months to tell me. And you waited until I landed?" Jessica flinched. "I didn't want to hurt you." "Bullshit." Ethan's voice was dangerously quiet. His military training told him to stay calm, assess the situation, control his emotions. But this was war. His pulse roared in his ears. "Who?" His hands curled into fists. Jessica hesitated, and that was all he needed. "You know what? Don't answer." He turned away. "Ethan, please. Don't." He took one last look at her, memorizing the woman he once loved, then walked away. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Ethan sat in his truck, staring blankly at the dashboard. Jessica's words played on repeat in his head. "They're not yours." The reality hadn't fully sunk in. But he knew one thing: he needed proof. His fingers moved automatically, dialing a number. "Doc, I need a favor." The next day, Ethan met a military doctor at a private clinic. He handed over 2 small cotton swabs, DNA samples from the twins. "Standard test?" the doctor asked. Ethan nodded, his face unreadable. "Yeah. I need to know if they're mine." He didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat. Just waited. The call came the next morning. "Ethan, I'm sorry." The paper in his hands confirmed everything. 0% match. The twins weren't his. His grip on the report tightened, his nails digging into the paper. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. And Jessica had no idea what was coming for her. Ethan sat in his truck, gripping the DNA test results so tightly that the paper started to crumple in his fists. 0% match. Those words stared back at him, mocking him. His body was still. Too still. The rage inside him was simmering, restrained by years of military discipline. But his mind? His mind was an absolute battlefield. Jessica had looked him in the eyes, held his hands, sent him letters, told him she loved him, while carrying another man's children. He thought back to the deployment, the nights he'd spent exhausted, longing for home, counting down the days until he could hold his family. But now, he had no family. His phone buzzed. Jessica. He let it ring. She'd already stolen too much from him. A knock on his window. Ethan's closest friend in the Marines, Troy, peered in. Ethan rolled down the window. "Dude, you look like you just saw a ghost," Troy said. "What's going on?" Ethan exhaled through his nose. Jessica cheated? Troy's expression darkened. Wait, what? Ethan tossed the DNA results onto the dashboard. The twins aren't mine. Troy swore under his breath. That lying? Not just anyone, Ethan interrupted. Logan? Silence. Troy's fist clenched. That bastard? The one who was smiling in our wedding photos? The guy who sent you Christmas gifts while you were deployed? Logan? Ethan nodded. Troy exhaled sharply, shaking his head. Man, what are you gonna do? Ethan's eyes darkened. Destroy them. But not the way they expect. Ethan knew one thing, revenge wasn't about anger. It was about patience. He'd been trained for warfare. This was just another mission. First step, make Jessica think she was safe. That night, Ethan did something that took every ounce of restraint. He answered her call. Ethan, she sobbed. Please talk to me. Let me explain. Jessica, he said, voice eerily calm. I need time. But I want to work through this. A sharp inhale from the other side. Oh, that's what she heard. You do? Yeah, Ethan lied. For the twins? She broke into another sob. Ethan, I love you. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. You're still their dad. He swallowed down his disgust. We'll talk soon. I just need space. He hung up before she could respond. Troy stared at him, shocked. You're playing her? Ethan smirked coldly. I want her to think she's winning. That way when I hit, it'll hurt 10 times worse. Troy shook his head, but there was a glint of approval in his eyes. Man, this is gonna be brutal. CTA, Jessica thinks she's winning. But Ethan's revenge is just getting started. You won't believe what's next. Stay with me. Ethan needed to pull Logan into the trap. The bastard had gotten away with this for too long. Using a burner phone, Ethan sent Logan a message. Unknown number, hey, it's Jess. We need to talk. Can we meet? Ethan smirked as Logan replied almost instantly. Logan, babe, of course. Your place? Ethan's grip on the phone tightened. Babe. Logan was still seeing her. He had no guilt, no regret. Perfect. Ethan arrived at Jessica's apartment early. She was surprised but flustered. I thought you needed space? She asked. Ethan smiled, soft and controlled. I just wanted to see you. Jessica's lips parted slightly. She thought she was winning. Come inside, she whispered. Ethan leaned in, brushing a strand of hair from her face. In a bit. I need to grab something from my truck. He stepped away just as headlights appeared in the driveway. Logan's car. Ethan slipped into the shadows. The trap was set. Ethan stood in the shadows across the street, watching Jessica's apartment like a predator tracking prey. The air was crisp, cold, but he barely felt it. His mind was locked in, focused. Then, right on time, headlights cut through the darkness. Logan's car rolled into Jessica's driveway like he had done this 1,000 times before. Ethan clenched his fists but forced himself to breathe. He couldn't react emotionally. That wasn't his game. This wasn't about one night of revenge. This was about ruining them completely. Logan stepped out of his car, adjusting his jacket like a man with no guilt, no hesitation. He walked to the front door with an arrogant strut, the kind of confidence that made Ethan's stomach churn. Jessica opened the door, glancing over her shoulder like a woman hiding a secret. Hey, Logan greeted casually. Ethan's grip tightened on his phone, already recording through the zoom lens of a hidden camera. Jessica shifted nervously. I don't think we should. Oh, come on, Logan interrupted smoothly, stepping inside. Ethan's a fool. He'll take you back. He smirked, shaking his head. And if he doesn't, you always have me. Ethan's blood boiled. Jessica hesitated. He's different now. I think he knows something. Logan scoffed. Ethan's just a soldier. He follows orders. He's not smart enough to play mind games. Ethan smirked to himself. That was mistake number 1. Logan had just underestimated the wrong man. Phase 1? Complete. Now it was time to push things further. The next morning, Ethan sat in his truck, eyes locked on his laptop screen, analyzing every piece of dirt he had collected. The texts, the hotel receipts, the hidden camera footage. All evidence of Jessica and Logan's betrayal. But Ethan wanted more. He wasn't here for just proof. He was here to bury them. He pulled out his old security tools, equipment he used to install before his last deployment. A small, hidden device he had placed in Jessica's apartment months ago. A simple bug. And just like that, he had access to her conversations in real time. He clicked through the audio files, listening. Jessica's voice came first. "I don't trust Ethan. He's acting strange." Logan chuckled. "Jess, relax. He's harmless. I know the guy, he punches things, follows orders, that's it." Ethan smirked. "Perfect." He clipped the recording, labeled the files, and saved everything. Then he picked up his phone and dialed. "Sergeant Matthews speaking." Ethan leaned back in his seat. "Sir, I think we have a security problem with one of our own. Mind if I send you something interesting?" Jessica and Logan had no clue. But the walls? They were closing in. Jessica's nerves were starting to show. Ethan saw it in her text. "Jessica, are you okay? You've been acting weird." "Ethan, just dealing with stuff. I need space." She hesitated. Then, "Jessica, are you mad at me?" "Ethan, we'll talk soon." "Sure." "Cool. Let her overthink it." That night, Jessica called Logan. Ethan, sitting in his truck, listened in through the bug. "Something's not right," Jessica murmured. Logan laughed. "Babe, you're overthinking it." "No, Logan. He's too calm." "That's good, isn't it?" Logan said, arrogance dripping from his voice. "It means he's letting it go." Jessica sighed. "Or it means he's planning something?" For once she was right. Ethan smirked in the darkness, watching the live footage of Logan lounging in Jessica's apartment like he belonged there. "Oh, Logan. You're about to find out just how dangerous I really am." Ethan knew that the best kind of revenge wasn't instant. It was slow, methodical, and devastating. Jessica and Logan had no idea that he had already pulled the pin on the grenade that would blow their lives apart. Sitting in his truck, Ethan scrolled through the screenshots, text logs, and voice recordings he had gathered over the past few days. Everything was in place. He wasn't just going to confront them, he was going to make sure everyone knew. He pulled out his phone and started typing. "Ethan, to Jessica's father, Richard. Hey, sir. I know this is unexpected, but I need to talk to you about Jessica. It's urgent. Can we meet?" A few moments later, the typing dots appeared. "Richard, of course, son. Is everything all right?" "Ethan, not really. I'd rather tell you in person." Richard responded almost immediately. "Richard, meet me at my office tomorrow. 10 a.m. Ethan leaned back, a smirk tugging at his lips. Jessica still had her father's respect, but not for long. Next, he opened a secure folder on his laptop and transferred every piece of evidence onto a flash drive. This wasn't just for Richard. He was preparing to send it to Jessica's entire family, her workplace, and, most importantly, her friends. Because if there was one thing Ethan knew about Jessica, it was this: her reputation meant everything to her. And he was about to burn it to the ground. The next morning, Ethan pulled up to Richard's law firm, a towering glass building in downtown Charlotte. He walked into the sleek, modern lobby and was greeted by a receptionist. "Mr. Carter?" she asked, glancing at him with curiosity. Ethan nodded. "Richard is expecting me?" A few minutes later, he was sitting across from Jessica's father, one of the most respected attorneys in the city. Richard leaned forward, his face lined with concern. "Son, what's going on?" Ethan exhaled, placing the flash drive on the desk. "Jessica cheated on me." Richard's face darkened. "What?" "She lied to me for months. And it gets worse." Ethan slid the DNA test results across the desk. "The twins aren't mine." Richard picked up the paper, his hands shaking slightly. His jaw tightened as he read the results. A long silence. Then he slowly looked up. "Who's the father?" Ethan's voice was steady. "Logan Parker." Richard sat back, rubbing his temples. "That son of a bitch." Ethan continued, his tone calm, controlled. "Jessica has been sneaking around with Logan since I deployed. I have texts, video footage, and voice recordings to prove it." Richard stared at the flash drive like it was a ticking bomb. "You're sure about all of this?" Ethan nodded. "I don't make moves unless I'm sure." A deep sigh. Then Richard's face hardened. "I can't believe my own daughter would do this." Ethan leaned forward. "I need you to see what's on that drive. And then you can decide what you want to do next." Richard picked up the flash drive, his expression unreadable. "Ethan, I need time to process this. But let me be very clear, I won't let her get away with this." Ethan gave a small, satisfied nod. One down. More to go. That evening, Jessica was scrolling through her phone, oblivious to the storm heading her way. Then her phone buzzed. "Mom, Jessica. What the hell is this I'm hearing?" Jessica frowned. "What?" Then another message. "Cousin Amanda, Jess. Tell me it's not true." Her stomach twisted. What was happening? Then came the call. Her father. Jessica hesitated before answering. "Dad?" Richard's voice was cold, unforgiving. "Jessica. I just saw the proof." Jessica's breath hitched. "What proof?" "Don't play dumb," Richard snapped. "The DNA test. The affair. The messages. You betrayed your husband and your entire family." Jessica's throat went dry. "Dad, please? Don't. Just don't." His voice was filled with disgust. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Do you have any clue how humiliating this is?" Jessica opened her mouth, but no words came out. "I never want to see Logan near this family. Ever." Tears burned in Jessica's eyes. I didn't mean." "You didn't mean to get caught." The line went dead. Jessica's hands trembled. Her father had always been her biggest supporter. And now, he was gone. She tried calling him back. No answer. She tried texting her mom. No reply. Her phone buzzed again. "Best friend Lisa. Jess, is it true? Did you really cheat on Ethan with Logan?" Jessica's hands turned to fists. What the hell was going on? Her stomach dropped. Ethan. He was behind this. And he was just getting started. Jessica gripped her phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her father had cut her off. Her mother refused to speak to her. Her friends were turning their backs. And she had no idea how. Her eyes flickered toward the kitchen counter, where Ethan's old laptop sat untouched. Her pulse quickened. Was this him? Did he do something? She dialed Ethan's number, her fingers shaking. Ring, ring, voicemail. Again. Nothing. Her stomach churned. He wasn't just ignoring her, he was planning something. A text flashed on her screen. "Logan, babe, what's going on? People are texting me weird shit." Jessica's blood ran cold. Logan was being dragged into this too. She took a shaky breath and typed. "Jessica, I think Ethan knows everything." "Logan, bullshit. He's too stupid for that." Jessica didn't respond. For the first time she wasn't so sure. Meanwhile, Ethan sat in his truck across town, watching the chaos unfold from a distance. Jessica had no idea how deep this went. He opened his laptop and pulled up his next target. Logan? A few clicks later he had Logan's financial records, his military file, and, more importantly, proof of his misconduct. "You thought I was stupid, Logan? Let's see how smart you feel when the military comes knocking." Ethan sent the first email at 7 a.m. sharp. The recipient? The Office of Military Conduct. Subject line. Urgent. Investigation request on Marine Officer Logan Parker. Attached were several incriminating files, hotel receipts, screenshots, security footage, all tied to Logan's affair with a fellow Marine's wife while on duty. It wasn't just an affair. It was a violation of military code. Logan had no idea his career was about to implode. By noon, Ethan got his first response. "Sergeant Matthews, Carter, we're opening an investigation. Effective immediately, Parker is suspended from duty. Thank you for bringing this to our attention." Ethan smirked. One move. One email. And Logan was already falling. But he wasn't done. He uploaded every piece of evidence onto a private online forum, one filled with military families and officers. Within minutes, the post was spreading like wildfire. Logan was now the topic of discussion among his own people. By the end of the day, the calls began. Jessica's phone buzzed. "Logan, Jessica. Pick up. Now." She hesitated before answering. "Logan?" His voice was pure panic. "What the fuck did you tell Ethan?" Jessica's stomach dropped. "I didn't tell him anything." "Then why the hell is the entire Marine Corps talking about me?" Jessica froze. Ethan had moved faster than she thought. Jessica paced her living room, chest tight with panic. Her father wasn't answering her. Her friends were ignoring her. Her boyfriend's career was crumbling. And the worst part? She had no control over any of it. She had always been the one who held the power. The one who called the shots. Now, she was the one drowning. She dialed Ethan's number again. Voicemail. Tears burned in her eyes. She needed to talk to him. She needed to fix this. But before she could spiral further, there was a knock at her door. She rushed over and pulled it open. Ethan stood there. Calm. Collected. Deadly. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. For the first time in her life she was afraid of him. "We need to talk," Ethan said, his voice dangerously low. Jessica swallowed hard. She had no idea that this conversation would change everything. Jessica stared at Ethan as if she were looking at a stranger. The man standing in her doorway was not the husband she had once known. His eyes were cold, his posture relaxed but dangerous, like a soldier who had already planned out every possible outcome of this conversation. "Ethan?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, shutting the door behind him. The sound of the latch clicking sent a chill down her spine. "Sit." His command was firm, leaving no room for argument. Jessica hesitated, but something in his expression made her obey. She felt like prey caught in a trap, and the hunter had finally come to collect. Ethan took his time, placing a small folder on the table before settling into the chair across from her. "I know everything, Jessica," he said calmly. Jessica's stomach twisted. "Ethan, please?" "No. You don't talk. You listen." He slid the folder toward her. Jessica hesitated before opening it. The moment she saw the contents, her breath hitched. Screenshots. Hotel receipts. DNA test results. Security footage. Everything. Undeniable proof. Her hands trembled. She had never felt so exposed in her entire life. Ethan leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "You lied to me. You carried another man's children while sending me love letters from thousands of miles away. You played the role of a loyal wife while fucking my best friend." Jessica's throat was dry. "Ethan, I was scared." Ethan let out a humorless chuckle. "Scared? You weren't scared when you were sneaking around with Logan?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." Ethan's expression darkened. "Oh, but you meant for it to happen. You made your choices. Now you're going to face the consequences." Jessica shook her head rapidly. "Please don't do this. I'll do anything. I'll fix this. I love you." Ethan laughed. Actually laughed. "Love?" He tilted his head. "You love me? Or do you just love what I gave you? The security? The loyalty? The devotion of a man who actually thought you were worth something?" Jessica couldn't breathe. She had never seen him like this. And then Ethan said something that made her blood turn to ice. "You don't get to choose how this ends, Jessica." "I do." Jessica barely slept that night. She felt like she was living in a nightmare, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't wake up. By morning, she sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the evidence Ethan had left behind. Then the doorbell rang. Her heart lurched. For a split second she thought, hoped, it was Ethan coming back. That he had cooled down. That they could still fix this. She was wrong. When she opened the door, a man in a suit stood there, holding a thick envelope. Jessica Parker? Her stomach twisted. "It's Carter," she said automatically. The man smiled slightly. "Not for long." He handed her the envelope. "You've been served?" Jessica's hands shook as she took the papers. Divorce documents. She felt the floor tilt beneath her. This was real. Her marriage was over. She flipped through the pages, eyes darting over the cold, formal words. Ethan was filing for full separation. He was not claiming paternity of the twins. He was not offering spousal support. He was keeping everything, his money, his assets, the house. She was getting nothing. Nothing but a last name she had already destroyed. Tears blurred her vision. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. Ethan was supposed to yell, scream, maybe even fight to win her back. But instead, he had cut her out like she never mattered. Her phone rang. Logan. She hit decline. This was bigger than Logan now. Jessica knew one thing. If she didn't act fast, she would lose everything. Jessica drove to Ethan's house that evening, her thoughts racing. She couldn't let this happen. She had to make him see reason. She knocked on the door, heartbeat hammering in her chest. No answer. She knocked harder. "Ethan, please. Just talk to me." Silence. Then she tried the handle and to her shock it turned. Unlocked. Jessica stepped inside cautiously. The house was dark, eerily quiet. And then she saw it. On the kitchen counter, Ethan's wedding ring sat next to the divorce papers. Her vision blurred. Her hands shook. And then, a voice behind her. You really don't know when to quit, do you? Jessica spun around. Ethan stood in the doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Ethan, please don't do this, she begged. He tilted his head. Do what? End this. Her voice cracked. I made a mistake, but I can make it right. Ethan stepped closer. Make it right? He let out a sharp breath. Jessica, the only thing you're sorry about is getting caught. Jessica's chest tightened. That's not true. Oh, it is. You're not crying because you love me. You're crying because you lost. Jessica swallowed hard. Ethan, I can't live without you. For the first time his gaze softened. And for a moment she thought, hoped she had reached him. Then he smiled. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was cold. Amused. Dangerous. You won't have to, he said. Because I'm not done with you yet. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't over. Ethan wasn't just divorcing her. He was planning something bigger. And now, she was truly afraid. Jessica had always been able to talk her way out of anything. Smooth words, fake tears, playing the victim. It always worked. But not this time. Ethan's calm, unreadable stare made it clear. She had lost. Ethan, please just tell me what you want. Ethan leaned against the counter, arms crossed, his expression almost amused. I already did. I want you to take responsibility for what you've done. Jessica swallowed. I can't lose you. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. You lost me the moment you let another man touch you. Jessica's throat tightened. You're punishing me enough already. The divorce, the family, the humiliation. Just stop. Ethan's jaw clenched and his voice dropped dangerously low. Punishing you? No, Jessica. Punishment is coming. What I've done so far. That's just the beginning. Jessica's stomach twisted. What does that mean? Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he turned away and grabbed a stack of papers from the counter. Jessica's blood ran cold. He dropped the first one in front of her. A job termination notice. Jessica's hands shook. What? Ethan smiled. Did you think your company would want someone with a scandal like this attached to their name? I made sure they saw the proof. Jessica's breathing turned shallow. No, you can't do this. Another paper. An eviction notice. Jessica felt like she was suffocating. Ethan leaned in. You built your life on lies, Jessica. And now, you're going to watch it crumble? Jessica fell to her knees. For the first time she understood. Ethan wasn't just leaving her. He was erasing her. Jessica's hands trembled as she stared at the eviction notice. No job. No home. No family. Her entire world was falling apart piece by piece. She grabbed Ethan's arm, desperate. Please, Ethan. I love you. I was wrong. Just tell me what I can do. Ethan looked down at her, not with hate, not with love, but with complete indifference. Jessica, this isn't a game where you get to restart. Actions have consequences. You don't get to undo them. Jessica sobbed, gripping his wrist harder. I have nothing left. Ethan exhaled slowly. That's the first true thing you've said in a long time. Jessica shook her head violently. No. I can fix this. Please. Ethan gently pried her fingers off him. Jessica, you're done. It's over. Jessica felt the floor disappear beneath her. This was it. She had nothing. And Ethan? He was walking away from her for good. But before he did, he turned back one last time. If you think this story is over, you're wrong. Because what happens next? It's even worse. To the audience, if you've been with me through this entire story, you won't want to miss what's next. Subscribe now because the most devastating part is still coming. Then Ethan walked out the door. Jessica was left on the floor, sobbing. Alone. Jessica was spiraling. Everything she had depended on was gone. And Logan? He wasn't answering her calls. Her hands trembled as she texted him again. Jessica, Logan, pick up the damn phone. No response. She dialed his number. Straight to voicemail. Her blood boiled. Was he seriously ghosting her now? With nowhere else to turn, she grabbed her keys and drove to Logan's apartment. She pounded on the door. Logan. Open up. Silence. She banged harder. Logan, I swear to God. The door swung open, but it wasn't Logan. It was a woman. A very pregnant woman. Jessica's heart stopped. Who the hell are you? Jessica demanded. The woman narrowed her eyes. I'm Logan's fiancé. Who the hell are you? Jessica's entire body went numb. Fiancé? Pregnant fiancé? Logan appeared behind the woman, eyes wide in panic. Jess, what are you doing here? Jessica felt like she was going to be sick. You son of a bitch, she whispered. Logan tried to step outside. Jess, listen, it's not. Slap. Jessica's palm connected with his face, hard. The fiancé gasped. What the hell is going on? Jessica's voice shook with fury. You ruined my life for what? For her? You played me while you were engaged. Logan's jaw clenched. You knew what this was? Jessica's stomach twisted. Oh my God. I was just your backup plan. Logan sighed. Jess, you're causing a scene. Just go. Jessica stumbled backward. He wasn't just leaving her. He had already moved on. Everything she had destroyed her marriage for was a lie. Tears streamed down her face as she turned and ran back to her car. As she drove away, her mind screamed one thing. She had lost everything. And for the first time, she knew she deserved it. Jessica sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat a cruel reminder that everything around her was falling apart. She had nothing left. No husband. No family. No Logan. And the worst part? It was all her fault. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. Logan had played her. The same way she had played Ethan. Her stomach churned at the realization. She had thrown away the man who actually loved her for someone who had never given a damn. She felt sick. Suddenly her phone buzzed. Her hands shook as she picked it up, hoping, praying. It was Ethan. It wasn't. It was a text from her landlord. Landlord, Jessica, your eviction is final. You need to vacate by the end of the week. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. This was really happening. She had spent years building a life with Ethan. Living in comfort, security, knowing he would always provide for her. And now, she was homeless. Her throat tightened, panic setting in. Where was she going to go? She couldn't go back to her parents. They wouldn't even answer her calls. She had no money. Her job was gone. And the only man she had left, Logan, had already replaced her. Jessica's mind raced. There had to be a way out. And then it hit her. There was only one person left who could save her. Ethan. Even after everything, she knew he was a good man. He wouldn't let her end up on the streets. He had loved her once. Maybe deep down he still did. Taking a deep breath, she wiped her tears and started the car. She was going to find Ethan. And she was going to beg. Ethan sat in the backyard of his house, the evening breeze cool against his skin. A glass of whiskey rested in his hand, but he barely touched it. His mind was too sharp. Too focused. The plan had played out exactly as he wanted. Jessica had lost everything. Logan's career was in ruins. And now, he was free. For the first time in years, he felt like himself again. No lies. No betrayals. No more pretending. Then there was a knock on the front door. Ethan didn't move at first. He had a feeling he knew exactly who it was. After a moment, he stood, walking calmly through the house, setting his drink down before opening the door. Jessica stood there, eyes red, face hollow, looking like a ghost of the woman he once knew. Ethan, she whispered. Please? Ethan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Please what? Jessica swallowed hard. I have nowhere to go. He didn't answer. He just stared. Her lip trembled. You were my husband. You loved me once. I know I made mistakes, but Ethan cut her off. You don't get to say my name like that. Not anymore. Jessica's breath hitched. I just need time. A place to stay. Just until I can figure things out. Ethan tilted his head, studying her. Why would I do that? Jessica's shoulders slumped. Because I have no one else. Silence stretched between them. Ethan exhaled slowly. Then he stepped aside, gesturing her in. Jessica blinked in shock. You're letting me stay? Ethan smiled faintly. Sure. But under one condition. Jessica nodded quickly. Anything. Just, thank you, Ethan. Thank you. She stepped inside, not realizing she had just walked into the final part of Ethan's plan. Because this wasn't mercy. This was the final stage of her punishment. Jessica stood awkwardly in the house that had once been her home. Everything was exactly the same, the furniture, the pictures on the walls. Except for one thing. Her presence no longer belonged here. She was a stranger now. Ethan didn't offer her a seat, didn't offer her food or water. He just stood there watching, calculating. Finally, Jessica broke the silence. I don't expect you to forgive me, she murmured. You just what? Ethan interrupted. Need a place to crash until you figure out how to ruin someone else's life? Jessica flinched. That's not fair. Ethan laughed, shaking his head. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Jessica swallowed hard. I was your husband, Jessica. I gave you everything. He stepped closer, eyes burning with something she couldn't quite read. And you threw me away for nothing. Jessica's throat tightened. I know I did. I was selfish, I was wrong. But Ethan, please, I have nothing. Ethan studied her, then turned and walked toward the kitchen. Jessica watched him, confused. Where are you going? To get something. A moment later he returned with a small, familiar item. Jessica's wedding ring. Her breath caught. Ethan held it up between two fingers, examining it under the light. Do you remember what you said when I gave you this? Jessica nodded slowly, a lump forming in her throat. I said I would love you forever. Ethan chuckled. Yeah. That was a lie too, huh? Jessica looked away, ashamed. Ethan sighed, staring at the ring for a moment longer. Then, without hesitation, he dropped it into the trash can. Jessica let out a strangled gasp. Ethan? That's where it belongs, he said simply. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Please just give me another chance. Ethan met her gaze. Another chance? He took a slow step forward. Did I get another chance when I came home to find out my whole life was a lie? Jessica had no answer. Ethan smirked. You want to stay here? Fine. But let's get one thing clear. He leaned in, voice low and unforgiving. You're a guest in my house. Not my wife. Not my responsibility. And the second I decide you don't belong here anymore, you're gone. Jessica's heart shattered. She had come here hoping to fix things. Instead, she had just been given the final reminder that she had lost him forever. And the worst part? She deserved it. Jessica sat stiffly on the couch, her hands clasped together as she listened to the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. The same clock that had been in the house when she still lived here. When this was still her home. But now, she was nothing but a guest in Ethan's house. She looked up as Ethan walked into the living room, a glass of water in one hand, a set of keys in the other. He tossed the keys onto the coffee table in front of her. Guest rooms down the hall. Don't touch anything else in this house. Jessica blinked, hesitating. I can sleep in our room, right? Ethan let out a humorless laugh, shaking his head. Our room? No, Jessica. That's not yours anymore. Jessica's chest tightened, her fingers curling into the fabric of her jeans. She had expected him to be distant, angry even. But this was worse. It wasn't rage. It wasn't hate. It was indifference. Like she meant absolutely nothing to him anymore. Ethan, Jessica. His voice was sharp, cutting through her desperate attempt at conversation. She flinched. Ethan took a step closer, his gaze cold as steel. I let you stay here out of pity? But don't mistake that for forgiveness. Jessica swallowed hard. I'm just asking for a second chance. Ethan stared at her for a moment before responding. You don't deserve one. Jessica felt like she had been punched in the gut. She had never felt this powerless before. She had never imagined she'd be begging Ethan just to exist in his presence. And worst of all, he didn't even care. The next few days were torture. Jessica spent most of her time alone in the guest room, listening to the quiet sounds of the house. She used to fill this place with laughter, conversation, and the occasional fight over what movie to watch. Now, the silence was suffocating. Ethan barely acknowledged her presence. She would wake up to the sound of him making coffee, hear his footsteps as he moved around the house, and feel his presence when he sat in the living room watching TV. But he never spoke to her unless necessary. And when he did, it was like talking to a stranger. One night, Jessica worked up the courage to approach him while he was sitting on the back patio, a whiskey glass in his hand. Ethan. He didn't turn. Didn't even look at her. What? She hesitated, then sat across from him. I just want to talk. Ethan swirled his drink, his gaze fixed on the dark sky. About what? Jessica exhaled shakily. About us? Ethan finally looked at her then. And the emptiness in his eyes broke her. There is no us, Jessica. Jessica's throat burned. But there was. Ethan sighed, taking a slow sip of his drink before responding. Yeah. And you destroyed it? Jessica felt tears sting her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I miss you. Ethan let out a small, bitter chuckle. No, you miss what I gave you. Jessica's stomach twisted. That's not true. Ethan tilted his head. Isn't it? He leaned forward, his expression unreadable. Tell me, Jessica. If Logan hadn't dumped you, would you still be here, begging for another chance? Jessica's breath hitched. That's not fair. Ethan smirked. Oh, but it is. 'Cause I know you. And I know that if Logan had kept you, you never would have looked back. Jessica felt like her heart had been ripped from her chest. Because deep down he was right. Jessica barely slept that night. Ethan's words haunted her. She didn't want to admit that he was right. But she had chosen Logan. She had betrayed Ethan. And now, she had nothing. By morning she had made up her mind. She needed to leave. Maybe she could fix things with her parents. Maybe she could find a job, start over. But she couldn't live like this anymore. Trapped in a house that was no longer hers, surrounded by the memories of the man she had lost. Jessica packed her bag with shaking hands. When she walked into the living room, Ethan was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He didn't look up. Going somewhere? Jessica swallowed hard. I'm leaving. Ethan nodded once. Good. Jessica hesitated. That's it? You're not going to stop me? Ethan exhaled slowly, setting his phone down. Why would I? Jessica's hands curled into fists. Because you still love me? Ethan stared at her for a long moment before responding. No, Jessica. I don't. Jessica's entire body went cold. He meant it. Ethan stood, grabbing his keys from the table. I'll be out for a few hours. Make sure you're gone when I get back. Jessica opened her mouth, but no words came out. Ethan didn't even look back as he walked out the door. And just like that, it was over. She had lost him. For good. Jessica drove aimlessly, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her fingers ached. She had no plan. Nowhere to go. No one to turn to. She kept replaying Ethan's words in her head. No, Jessica. I don't. That was it. The moment her world truly ended. It wasn't anger. It wasn't hatred. It was nothing. She had begged. She had cried. She had tried to manipulate him just like she always had. But Ethan? He was gone. Not physically. Not in the way Logan had disappeared, not in the way her father had shut her out. Ethan was gone because she no longer mattered to him. And that hurt worse than anything. Jessica pulled into an empty parking lot behind a gas station, pressing her forehead against the steering wheel. Her chest felt tight. Her mind raced with thoughts she didn't want to acknowledge. She had never been alone before. Not really. Even after Ethan had left for deployment, she had Logan, her friends, her family. Now, she had no one. She dug through her purse, fingers shaking as she pulled out her phone. She had tried calling her mother 3 times earlier. No answer. Her father? Still ignoring her. Her so-called best friend? Gone. Jessica felt her heart hammering too fast. She clicked on Logan's number, the last option she had left. Rang. And rang. And then, voicemail. Jessica let out a small, broken laugh. The man she had thrown away everything for had already forgotten about her. Her stomach turned. For the first time, she understood how Ethan must have felt. The rage. The heartbreak. The betrayal. And it was too late. She had destroyed the only person who ever truly loved her. And now, she had nothing. Jessica sat in her car, staring at the empty screen of her phone. Her mind was spiraling. Maybe I should just disappear. The thought hit her like a freight train. Disappear. Vanish. Just stop existing. Her chest felt tight, her breathing shallow. She wanted to rewind time. Go back to when Ethan looked at her with love instead of indifference. But she couldn't. She ruined everything. And now, she had no idea how to keep going. Her phone buzzed, making her jump. For a brief second she thought, prayed, it was Ethan. But it wasn't. It was an unknown number. Her pulse quickened. A scam? A mistake? Her shaking hands unlocked her phone. Unknown, you should watch the news. Jessica's blood ran ice cold. What the hell? Her heart raced as she quickly opened a news app. And then, her stomach dropped. A photo of Logan flashed across the screen. Logan Parker, former Marine, arrested for fraud and misconduct. Jessica felt like she was going to throw up. She clicked the article, her fingers numb. Logan had been caught falsifying military records and engaging in financial fraud. His accounts? Frozen. His career? Over. And the cherry on top? It was all traced back to evidence provided by one man, Ethan Carter. Jessica let out a shaky breath. He wasn't just done with her. He was erasing everything connected to her, including Logan. And now, she had nothing left to cling to. Ethan sat in his truck, parked in front of an old diner on the outskirts of town. The news about Logan had spread faster than he expected. His military contacts had moved quickly. Once the investigation started, it was only a matter of time before Logan fell. And now, Jessica had no one left to run to. She had nothing. And Ethan? For the first time in years he felt free. His phone buzzed. A text. Troy, it's done. Parker is officially screwed. You good? Ethan smirked, typing back. Ethan, never been better. He looked up as a waitress approached his truck, knocking lightly on the window. She was young, maybe a few years younger than him, with warm eyes and an easy smile. Hey there, she said. You gonna come inside or just stare at the menu from out here? Ethan chuckled, finally stepping out of his truck. I think I'll stay for a while. And as he walked toward the diner, leaving the past behind, he felt lighter than he had in years. Because Jessica? She was just a memory now. And he was finally moving on. Jessica sat on the thin motel bed, staring at the cracks in the ceiling. This was it. She had truly lost everything. Her job. Her home. Her family. Logan. Ethan. She had nothing. Her phone lay beside her, silent for hours. No missed calls. No texts. No one was looking for her. Jessica had always believed that no matter what happened, she could talk her way back into people's lives. But Ethan? He had made sure she had nowhere left to run. Her fingers trembled as she unlocked her phone and scrolled through her contact list. Who could she call? She had burned every bridge. Then her eyes landed on one name. Ethan. Her breath hitched. She hesitated for a long time before finally pressing the call button. Rang. And rang. And then, voicemail. Her heart shattered. He really was done with her. Tears blurred her vision as she let the phone slip from her hands. For the first time she understood what true loneliness felt like. Because this was karma. Jessica barely left the motel for the next 3 days. She stopped checking her phone. She barely ate. Her life was officially over. One night, as she sat in complete darkness, a thought crossed her mind. A dark, painful thought. Maybe it would be easier to just disappear. She sat there, staring at the wall, her breath shallow. Would anyone even care if she was gone? Would Ethan? Her hands shook as she grabbed her phone again. One more call. Just one. If he answered, maybe she had a chance. Maybe she could fix things. She dialed his number again. Ring. Ring. Then a voice. But not his. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Jessica froze. She pulled the phone away and looked at the screen. Call failed. Ethan had changed his number. A choked sob escaped her lips. It was over. Really, truly over. And Jessica? She was nothing now. Ethan hadn't thought about Jessica in days. His life was finally his own again. No betrayals. No lies. No heartbreak. Just peace. He sat outside a small coffee shop, watching the morning sun rise over the city. The past year had been hell. But now, it was finally behind him. His phone buzzed. A message from Troy. Troy, haven't heard about Jessica in a while. You think she's all right? Ethan stared at the screen for a moment. Then, he turned off his phone. He didn't care anymore. Jessica had made her choices. And now, she was just another person in his past. He took a deep breath, savoring the feeling of freedom. Because for the first time in years, Ethan Carter was truly happy. Jessica sat in the dingy motel room, the flickering neon light from the sign outside casting an eerie glow through the window. The air was stale, suffocating. It smelled of failure, of regret, of everything she had become. She hadn't eaten in over a day. She barely drank water. The weight of her choices pressed down on her, heavy and suffocating, crushing the last bits of hope she had left. Her entire life had been built on deception, manipulation, and selfishness. She had always believed she was untouchable, that she could charm her way back into anyone's good graces. But Ethan? He had been different. He hadn't fought her. He hadn't yelled or begged. He had erased her. And that was worse than anything else. Jessica had thought Ethan would always be her safety net. No matter how bad things got, she had assumed she could crawl back to him, bat her eyes, and he would take her back. But now, she was nothing to him. A ghost. She scrolled through her contacts again, but the screen blurred as tears filled her eyes. There was no one left to call. Her parents? Gone. Her friends? Gone. Logan? Gone. Ethan? Gone forever. Her breathing grew shallow, panic rising in her chest. What am I supposed to do now? For the first time in her life, Jessica had no plan. And that terrified her. Jessica woke up to a pounding headache, her body aching from sleeping on the lumpy motel mattress. The world outside moved on without her. Cars honking, people walking, life continuing as if she never existed. She sat up slowly, rubbing her temples. I need to fix this. She had tried calling Ethan. He had shut her out. She had tried calling Logan. He had moved on. But there was one last card left to play. Ethan's mother. Jessica's hands trembled as she dialed the familiar number. It rang once, twice, and then, hello? Jessica sucked in a shaky breath. Mrs. Carter, it's me. Jessica. Silence. Jessica squeezed her eyes shut. Please don't hang up. I don't have anyone else to talk to. Mrs. Carter's voice was cold, detached. Jessica, why are you calling me? Jessica swallowed the lump in her throat. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. And I lost everything. Mrs. Carter sighed. You didn't just lose it, Jessica. You threw it away. Jessica flinched. I know I did. But please, I need help. I just need a place to stay. Just for a little while. The silence stretched so long that Jessica thought the call had dropped. And then, no. Jessica's heart stopped. No, Jessica. You don't get to come crawling back now. Not after what you did to my son. Jessica's breathing hitched. But nothing, Mrs. Carter interrupted. Ethan is finally happy. He's free of you. And I will not let you drag him back into your mess. Jessica felt the walls closing in. Please, she begged. I don't have anywhere to go. Mrs. Carter's voice softened just slightly. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you betrayed the only person who ever truly loved you. Click. The line went dead. Jessica dropped the phone onto the floor, numb. It was over. She had truly lost everything. Ethan leaned back in his chair, sipping his coffee as the sun cast golden light across the cafe patio. The smell of fresh-baked bread and roasted coffee beans filled the air. For the first time in a long time he felt at peace. Jessica was gone. Logan was finished. And Ethan? He had one. His phone buzzed on the table. It was Troy. Troy, heard about Jessica. Looks like she's crashing in some rundown motel. Ethan stared at the message for a moment, then typed back. Ethan, not my problem. He wasn't being cruel. He wasn't being heartless. He was simply done. Jessica had made her bed. Now she had to lie in it. As he put his phone down, the waitress from before, the one who had been flirting with him last week, walked by with a tray. Back again? She teased, setting a fresh cup of coffee in front of him. Ethan smirked. I like the coffee here. She raised an eyebrow. Just the coffee? Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. Maybe it was time to let go of the past completely. Jessica had destroyed his old life. But she no longer had control over his future. He was finally free. And he wasn't looking back. Jessica sat in the dingy motel room, her back pressed against the cold wall, staring at the flickering ceiling light above her. It buzzed faintly, casting dim, sickly yellow hues over the cracked paint and stained carpet. She had never felt more alone in her entire life. Her stomach growled, a cruel reminder that she hadn't eaten properly in days. The motel's vending machine only took cash, and she had exactly $3.78 left in her bank account. She had tried everything. She called her parents again. No answer. She texted old friends. Left on read. She even called Logan in one last desperate attempt. But his number had changed. Jessica clenched her fists. She was out of options. Her pride had been shattered long ago. Once she had walked through life believing she was untouchable, beautiful, desired. Now, she was a ghost. Her eyes burned as she stared at her reflection in the motel mirror. She looked like a stranger. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair unkempt. Clothes wrinkled. Was this who she had become? The woman who once had everything, who had thrown away a loyal husband for a cheap thrill, was now nothing. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone one last time. There was only one number left to call. Not Ethan, but Troy. Maybe, just maybe, he could convince Ethan to help her. She inhaled shakily and dialed. Rang. Once. Twice. Then. Jessica? Troy's voice was sharp, surprised. Her throat tightened. Troy, I need help. A long pause. Jessica, what the hell are you doing calling me? Jessica clutched the phone, her heart hammering in her chest. Troy, please, I don't have anywhere else to go. Silence. Then a sharp sigh. Jessica, what do you expect me to do? Her voice cracked. Just talk to Ethan. Just ask him to let me come back. Please. Troy let out a bitter chuckle. Are you serious? You really think Ethan wants you back after what you did? Jessica squeezed her eyes shut. I don't want to get back together. I just need a place to stay. I need time to figure things out. Troy's voice turned ice cold. You had all the time in the world to figure things out, Jessica. You had a loyal husband, a stable life, and a home. But you wanted more. Jessica's breath hitched. And now you have nothing, Troy continued, his tone almost pitying. That's not Ethan's fault. That's yours. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Troy, please. Just tell him I called. Troy let out a slow breath. Then, I'm not telling him anything. Jessica froze. Ethan's done, Jessica. He's happy now. He's free. Jessica's chest tightened. Happy. Free. He had really moved on. She felt something inside her shatter beyond repair. Goodbye, Jessica. Click. The call went dead. Jessica stared at the phone in her hand, her entire body trembling. It was over. No more second chances. No more last-ditch efforts. Ethan Carter was gone forever. And she was well and truly alone. Ethan stood in his new apartment, looking out at the bright city skyline. The air smelled crisp, clean, a fresh start. A year ago he had been a broken man. A year ago Jessica's betrayal had consumed him. But now, he was free. He had sold the old house, gotten rid of everything that reminded him of the past. Jessica had spent years believing she had the power. But Ethan had taken it all away. His phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A text from Troy. Troy, she called me. She's desperate. Tried to get me to talk to you. Ethan stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed back. Ethan, not my problem. He deleted Jessica's number just in case. She had spent years treating him like he was disposable. Now, she was the one left behind. As Ethan stepped outside into the cool night air, he took a deep breath. He was finally living life on his own terms. No Jessica. No lies. No regret. Just freedom. And damn, it felt good. Jessica sat at the edge of the motel bed, her knees pulled to her chest, staring at the wall as if it held the answers to the mess she had made. But there were no answers. Only silence. Only regret. She was running out of money, running out of time, and worst of all, running out of hope. She had never truly understood what she had done to Ethan until now. The cold, crushing feeling of being abandoned. The suffocating emptiness of knowing you're nothing to someone who once loved you. The brutal reality of losing everything because of your own selfish choices. Now she felt every ounce of the pain she had inflicted on Ethan. And there was no escape from it. Her hands shook as she picked up her phone, staring at the blank screen. There were no new messages. No missed calls. No one was looking for her. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She had believed that Ethan would always be there, waiting in the background, ready to take her back when she got bored. But he wasn't. And now, she was the one waiting for a call that would never come. Jessica had thrown away the only person who had ever truly loved her. And now, she was drowning in the emptiness she had created. The days blurred together. Jessica had sold her last piece of jewelry to afford another week at the motel. But she knew her time was running out. She had nowhere else to go. No backup plan. No miracle waiting to save her. Then one night she found herself standing outside Ethan's new apartment. She hadn't meant to come here. Her feet had carried her here before her mind could stop them. She stared at the front door, her heart hammering in her chest. She had two choices. Walk away and accept her fate. Or knock. Beg. Maybe, just maybe, he would give her a second chance. Her hands shook as she raised her fist and knocked softly. The door swung open a moment later. And there he was, Ethan. Standing tall, looking stronger, happier, more at peace than she had ever seen him. For a split second, hope flickered in her chest. Then, a woman stepped into view behind him. A beautiful woman. Smiling. Laughing. Looking at Ethan the way Jessica used to. Jessica's throat tightened. Ethan, Ethan's face was unreadable. What are you doing here, Jessica? Her chest felt like it was caving in. She had lost him. Completely. Jessica swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Ethan stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Okay. Jessica's stomach twisted painfully. That's it? Ethan exhaled slowly. What else is there to say? Jessica felt the last pieces of her shattered heart crumble to dust. She nodded slowly, stepping back. Goodbye, Ethan. He didn't respond. Didn't chase her. Didn't stop her. Jessica turned and walked away. And this time? He didn't look back. Ethan stood at the doorway for a moment after Jessica left. He felt nothing. No sadness. No anger. No regret. Just peace. The woman beside him, the one who had been getting coffee with him every morning, the one who laughed at his jokes, the one who had slowly but surely helped him move on, placed a gentle hand on his arm. Was that her? She asked softly. Ethan nodded. Yeah, that was her. She searched his face for a moment. Are you okay? Ethan turned to look at her. And for the first time in a long, long time he smiled. Yeah, I am. He shut the door, locking the past behind him. Jessica Parker had once been his entire world. But now, she was just a lesson he had learned. And Ethan Carter? He was finally free. Jessica wandered aimlessly through the darkened streets, her steps unsteady, her heart pounding in her chest. She had lost everything. Ethan was gone. Logan was gone. Her parents were gone. Her friends had abandoned her. And now, for the first time in her life, there was nowhere left to run. The motel manager had knocked on her door earlier, demanding rent she couldn't pay. She had until morning to leave. Jessica had officially hit rock bottom. She used to laugh at people like this, the ones who lost everything because of their own stupid choices. And now she was one of them. Her fingers trembled as she clutched her phone, scrolling through old pictures of herself and Ethan. Smiling. Happy. Before she had ruined it all. A lump formed in her throat as she looked at the last picture they had taken together. It was from the airport just before Ethan left for his last deployment. She had kissed him, held him, told him she would wait for him. And now, she had become the worst kind of person. The kind that didn't deserve a second chance. Tears blurred her vision. She had nowhere left to go. No home. No money. No hope. She sank onto a bench outside an old convenience store, hugging her arms around herself as the cold wind cut through her thin jacket. She had spent years destroying Ethan. And now, she had destroyed herself. Morning came too soon. Jessica woke up shivering, her body aching from sleeping on the bench. She hadn't even realized she had fallen asleep. People passed her without a second glance. She was invisible to them. A homeless man sat a few feet away, muttering to himself, "Is this what I've become?" Jessica had never known true suffering before. She had always been the woman who got what she wanted. But now, she was nothing. Her stomach twisted painfully, reminding her that she hadn't eaten in nearly 2 days. She dug into her pockets, pulling out the last $2 she had. It was enough for a cheap gas station sandwich. She stumbled inside, the fluorescent lights too bright, too harsh. The cashier barely looked at her as she placed the sandwich on the counter. As she reached for her money, her phone buzzed. Her breath hitched. Ethan? Her hands shook as she pulled it out, desperate. But when she saw the name on the screen, her heart sank. It wasn't Ethan. It was the motel manager. Jessica let out a shuddering breath, blinking back tears. Ethan was never going to call her again. She had to accept it. She grabbed her sandwich and walked out, feeling the weight of her choices crushing her. She had built a life on lies and betrayal. And now, she was living in the ruins of her own making. Ethan stood on the balcony of his new apartment, watching the sun rise over the city. It was beautiful. For the first time in years he felt free. No more pain. No more anger. No more regret. Just peace. His phone buzzed on the table beside him. It was Troy. Troy, she's gone. No one knows where she went. Ethan exhaled, running a hand through his hair. He wasn't surprised. Jessica had spent her life burning bridges. And now she had nowhere left to turn. Troy sent another message. Troy, do you care? Ethan stared at the words for a long moment. Then he typed back, "Ethan, no." Because the truth was he didn't. Jessica had spent years tearing him apart. And now she was the one who had to live with the consequences. Ethan turned off his phone and walked inside. Because the past was exactly where it belonged. Behind him. Jessica wandered the streets, her legs weak, her vision blurry. She had nothing left. No home. No money. No future. She had once believed she was unstoppable. That she could always find a way back. But now, the world had moved on without her. She stopped in front of an old cafe, pressing her forehead against the glass. Inside, people laughed, sipped coffee, lived their normal lives. Jessica swallowed hard. She had lived that life once. Now she was on the outside looking in. Her stomach ached with hunger, and for the first time she understood what it felt like to be truly desperate. She pulled open the cafe door, her fingers trembling. The warmth inside was overwhelming, almost suffocating after the bitter cold of the streets. She walked up to the counter, digging into her pocket for her last dollar. The cashier looked her up and down, her wrinkled clothes, her hollow eyes. Jessica cleared her throat. "Just a coffee, please?" The girl hesitated before nodding. $1. Jessica placed the bill on the counter, ignoring the way her hands shook. As she waited, her gaze drifted across the room. And then, her heart stopped. Sitting by the window, laughing with a beautiful woman, was Ethan. Jessica's throat tightened. He looked so different. Stronger. Happier. Free. She clenched her fists, fighting the overwhelming urge to walk over. But before she could move, Ethan turned. Their eyes met. For a second, the world stopped. Jessica opened her mouth, but before she could say anything, Ethan smiled. Not at her. At the woman sitting across from him. And just like that, Jessica knew. She was nothing to him now. The past was dead. And Ethan Carter had finally won. Jessica stumbled out of the cafe, her breath coming in short gasps. It was over. Ethan had moved on. She was just a ghost to him now. Her vision blurred as she walked aimlessly down the sidewalk. Tears burned her cheeks, but she didn't bother wiping them away. She had spent years believing she could control everything. But she had never been in control. Not really. She had made one mistake after another, and now she was living in the aftermath. A life she had destroyed with her own hands. Jessica stopped at an old park bench, sinking onto it, pressing her face into her hands. This was her reality now. No second chances. No happy ending. Just regret. And no one left to care. Ethan walked through the busy streets, his hands in his pockets, breathing in the crisp air. Life felt good again. He had spent too many years drowning in anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. But now, he had everything to look forward to. A new city. A new career. A new woman who actually valued him. The past was just that, the past. His phone buzzed. A text from Troy. Troy just heard. Jessica left town. No one knows where she went. Ethan stared at the message for a moment. Then he typed back. Ethan, good. And with that he put his phone away. Jessica Parker was a chapter in his life that was finally closed. And Ethan Carter was finally free. And just like that, Jessica was gone. Ethan Carter had survived the betrayal. He had walked through the fire and come out stronger. But the real question is, what do you think? If you were Ethan, would you have forgiven Jessica? Or would you have made her suffer even more? Drop a comment below. Should he have taken revenge differently, or was this the perfect ending? Like if you felt the karma hit just right. Subscribe if you want more gripping, bold, and thrilling stories like this. Share with someone who loves a good revenge tale. And remember, betrayal always comes with a price.